My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 215 of Legally Clueless. Thank you so much for rocking with this podcast. I'm super glad to have you as part of the family. If this is your first time listening to the show, audio episodes like this go out every single Monday, and you can stream them on Spotify and everywhere else you find podcasts on. You can also check out our website, which is legallycluelessafrica.com. We have our tour series there. And by the way, I don't know if I should say it. You know, like when you have good news and you don't want to jinx it yet. But all I'm going to say is we are about to hit the road again. I'm so happy. But I'm wearing a noisy jacket, so I can't dance too vigorously. Anyway, I got sidetracked for a second. On our website, you can watch our tour series, our video series. We have 3 seasons of that. Sign up to join our community and of course learn more about our events like the upcoming one, which is our group therapy session. I'm going to be giving you more deets on that in a bit. If you are an OG member, thank you so much for rocking with the podcast. I appreciate you. I've been seeing so many more tweets. Yeah, it's wonderful to have grown the space to where it is and to have you as part of it. Ooh, speaking of Twitter and social media, if you're going to tweet about the show, use the hashtag LegallyClueless, and on Instagram, you can find us at legallycluelessafrica.com. Now, I am super excited about the story in this episode because it's part 2 of Sweetie Nyarkano's story. Listen to this.
Things just started now accumulating against me because I was also queer. And also when I was in high school, the roles that I was given in drama club, I was always given the male roles and stuff. So somehow I looked like a boy or something. I don't know. They started making that an issue to a point again. My dad was called and they told my dad. Just like that. Imagine that was the first time I was watching my dad cry in front of me. Like they just told my dad, imagine that, oh, your daughter is into women. So when I went to this second school, I had said, oh God, I'm going to be straight. Okay, even if I'm not straight, I'm going to be celibate. I will not do anything with girls or whatever. I did not last. It did not last. I swear, my desires were stronger than my need to please.
That is Sweetie, and part 2 of her story is coming up a little later in this episode. Okay, let's jump to the song of the week, which is a surprise for me because I've never fully resonated with this particular musician's music. His music has always been very pop, churned out quite a few hits. So throughout my radio career, I was constantly having to play his music. I don't know, I just have never resonated with it until this album. I'm talking about Davido. So his album Timeless came out, and the reason I went to check it out is I saw the cavemen were on it and I love them. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to the whole album. And I ended up not skipping even one song. Like, low-key really think it's because there's a lot of horns and this kind of new age Afrobeat sound. And I've always loved that. But listen, I'm not going to dissect it too much. I like the album. But one of my favorite songs is called Feel. I really love it. I haven't really gone through the lyrics to fully understand if it's a happy love song. Is it even a love song? The way I take it is I take it to be a love song. Okay, so when I'm in my mushy moods, I'm just like dancing happily along to this song. But anyway, check it out. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. So I want to tell you 2 things before we switch gears into Sweetie's part 2 of her story. The first thing is, I don't know if you know, but I sit on a committee for a fund called the Pisca Fund. And it's a fund by the French Embassy in Kenya. Why I love it, and it's probably right now the only committee I sit on, is because it's specifically and exclusively for Kenyan organizations. Running my own initiative, I know how difficult it is to access funding and resources as an organization that is led by an African woman and based in Africa. And so I'm always looking for opportunities, not only for myself, but for other Africans who are running community organizations or organizations in the civil or organizations in the civil society space. I try and look for opportunities and then I amplify them. And so here's one of them. And they have just announced the call out for 2023 into 2024. Now, it's a 2-year fund and its focus this year is on supporting and promoting women and girls' rights, especially in terms of promotion of sexual reproductive health and rights, and also the fight against gender-based violence. So the theme is the Pisca Decide Her, which is just an emphasis that your program or project or organization has to really be centered on empowering women and girls, specifically in promotion of sexual and reproductive health and rights, prevention of gender-based violence, and looking at interventions that help curb this. And so the call out is now live and you need to start applying now. So I've put a link in the show notes for you to head over to that website, scroll through the criteria, make sure you're eligible, and then send through, I think the first thing they need is a letter of intent. Please do this. I've met the different organizations that have benefited from the Pisca Fund, from some based in Nairobi, but most of them are not even based in Nairobi. Like, they're based in Turkana, Kisumu, Nyeri, Machakos, Thika, Mombasa, Kilifi. Like, when I tell you, I truly believe in this fund because I'm involved in understanding the different parts of it and how to make it reach as many Kenyans as possible. Please don't let this opportunity pass you by. So if you run or work in a Kenyan organization that fits the bill, please apply. If you are none of those things, but you have a friend or a relative or somebody who you know, or maybe you could just amplify it on your social media, take the link and share. I really want you to build sustainable projects and have impact, and to do all that, you really need resources. So you can find the link to the Pisca Fund in the show notes, or you could just go to ke.ambafrance.org. The second thing I want to remind you about is our group therapy session. I'm so excited about this because, in case you do not know, we have events. We are cool like this as the Legally Clueless family. Please just bear with me. I'm in a goofy mood. Anyway, we're having our next group therapy session that is facilitated by Faith. She's an accredited therapist, also my therapist. You've probably heard me backbite her on this podcast. Anyway, and it's happening on the 29th of April, which is on Saturday from 9:30 a.m. at Kanga Studio here in Nairobi. It's in person, not virtual. And no tickets will be sold at the gate, so you have to get your tickets in advance, and they're 1,500 bob. You can get your tickets from legallycluelessafrica.com. Now, as I am recording this, we have only 5 tickets left. So yeah, I would rush if I were you. Now, the theme for this group therapy session is losses without funerals. And if you listen to episode 214, Faith was on and she really broke down what this theme means. And at its core, it's looking at the different losses that we don't acknowledge or process that take us away from who we are. Loss of relationships, of friendships, of jobs, property, losses sparked by childhood trauma. That one. But I think from my experience, that is a great place to start your healing journey, because it's almost like an audit of, okay, where are the cracks, what's broken? And then you go deeper into why is it broken? And then you start the healing process. You know what I mean? So anyway, I would love to see you there. So go to legallycluelessafrica.com, grab your tickets. We finally have part 2 of Sweetie's story. Woot woot. I'm so glad she made time for us to re-record this and was such a sweetheart about it. And I really wanted the second part because the themes that come up are really also linked to the different experiences in high school. Tena, if you went to boarding, that almost made her lose her essential self.
100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
Okay, so taking back to my high school experience. I remember joining Form 1. First of all, like when I was just taken to that school, I went to St. Teresa's first of all. And then later on, I went to St. Clair's. Both of them were Catholic schools. That is one thing that they had in common. So me, when I went to St. Teresa's, it was, I wouldn't say, the level of torture that we were subjected to was just like, everybody was being subjected to that. But then, the fact that there was a time I remember, we went to church, okay? When the church was every day in the morning, and I think every day in the evening, you recite the rosary at the dining hall. It was prayer all the time. So reciting of rosary and whatever. So there was this time I went to church. I just wanted to pray, just like normal people pray. I'm not Catholic, but then I was like, oh, so people go to give adoration. I don't know whether they call it adoration or whatever. Prayers. They were the ones who go to pray at the front. So I said, okay, let me go pray today, because today I wasn't sleeping in church. So let me at least go pray. So when I went, that day I went to pray for real. The way I know how to pray. After praying, I don't remember how I prayed, but it was a very authentic prayer to me at that particular, because I'm authentic. When I go to God, I tell God what I want. So after praying, the way I prayed, after that I was called to the deputy principal's office. She was called Achila. Then they started telling me what were those. I did not know that people are taught to pray, of which people are not. Nobody was getting taught to pray, so they just had a problem with the way I pray. She asked me, like, what were those? Who told you can go and pray like that in church? I was tongue-tied. Like, that is where my stuff started. That is where things started for me. That is where I started feeling like, hey, kwani what's up? That is where I started getting, depressive episodes, because I felt like I did not fit in. I felt like I did not know how to do it, okay? So they made that a big deal to a point my dad was called. They called my dad, to tell him that, I don't know how I prayed. They never told me that the way I prayed, what was exactly the problem. Imagine they did not. They just told me that the way I prayed was wrong or satanic or whatever. So fast forward, I started hating that school after that particular experience. And in this school, there was a rule, okay? There was always a rule that when you sneaking out of school is self-expulsion. So I had that at the back of my mind. So I said, if I ever want to get out of this place, I know how to get out of this place, So one day, after me praying, things just started now accumulating against me, because I was also queer in a girls' school. And yeah, I was queer, and I wasn't so much, however much I wasn't walking around telling everybody I was queer, but people could tell. And also when I was in high school, the roles that I was given in drama club, I was also in drama club, I was an actor. I was always given like the male roles and stuff. So me looking like a boy, because in high school also, like I was in a high school where everybody had hair, like St. Teresa's people were keeping hair, but then I wasn't. So somehow I looked like a boy or something, I don't know. So there was that, like me looking like a boy and me liking girls. So that started also becoming an issue after me praying. They started making that an issue to a point again. My dad was called and they told my dad, just like that. Imagine that was the first time I was watching my dad cry in front of me. Like they just told my dad, imagine that, oh, your daughter is into women. Yeah, and then my dad was coming to me and asking me like, what is that I'm hearing that you're in? What is that? And then he did not even wait for me to answer, because I think parents of queer kids, they know their kids are queer. Queer kids look queer from young, So my dad did not even wait for me to answer. What he did was he told me that please study and pass and go abroad so that you're protected. Study and pass. That is what my dad was telling me. Study and pass. And that is what stayed with me. So this first school, St. Teresa's, after they expelled me. Okay, I expelled myself because people were now talking, teachers were now divided, because now teachers wanted me to get out of that school. Others did not want me to get out of that school because of the mean students. Some of them wanted me to get out. Some of them did not want me to get out. They called an open forum to discuss whether I'm going or not. And in that open forum, that is when they decided I'm going. Okay? I swear, they called for an open forum. And, the students and the teachers, that wanted me to go talked. And actually, after that, Sister Margaret, she was called Sister Margaret Lydia, she called me and told me, you staying in this school is now not peaceful for even you. Even if I was to allow you to stay in this school, it wouldn't be something that would be peaceful for you. It's dangerous. So she's the one who called Sister Stephen, who is now of St. Clair's, and I got transferred to St. Clair's, immediately. When I got transferred to St. Clair's, I think they already told the school, this is what the storm we are bringing you. So when I got into that school, already everybody knew my shenanigans. The Sister Stephen was always telling me, you and women, I want you to this. She kept telling me, women, this is you. This is women. I want you to stay apart. Then I was just like, by this time, but then it wasn't a matter with laughter, but back then, I was so traumatized. I hated myself. I was just like, why am I doing this to myself? Can't I just control myself? And when I was moving to the second school, I told myself, I'm going to control myself. I knelt every night praying to God that please send me a boy. Please give me a boy. And when I went to this second school, I even made an imaginary boyfriend, just so that I can talk about boys when I'm talking about with girls, when girls are talking, so that they know I like boys too. And the boyfriend that I invented was called Polycarp. I think even my classmates up to today, they think I ever had a boyfriend called Polycarp because I polycarped them, and it was nothing. It wasn't true. So when I went to this second school, I just wanted to perform. I wanted to pass and go to university and live my own life. Because at this point, even some teachers were calling me on the side and telling me, just perform and go out there. You will do whatever you want out there. The teachers now who liked me, they would tell me, just perform and go out there. And me performing in school was the only thing that kept me from even being taken into a mental asylum, Madare, or mental institutions like that. I swear, if you ask the people I went to school with, they would tell you the only reason I was left alone, they did not leave me alone, but the only reason why they did not, tear me apart and, get me out of school or register me into a mental institution was because at the end of the day, I would become the top. At the end of the day, I would become the top. So they would talk, they would say, oh, this one is so out of line. This one doesn't, she's, and I was very respectful as well. I'm a very respectful person. So the issues that these people had with me was very chinyamaji. It wasn't something that I was up and, talking shit about people or talking shit about my teachers. I wasn't. So when I went to this second school, I had said, oh God, I'm going to be straight. Okay. Even if I'm not straight, I'm going to be celibate. I will not do anything with girls or whatever. I did not last. It did not last. I swear, my desires were stronger than my need to please. The desires to please myself and my soul was stronger than the desires for me to please other people. So I just continued with my life. I had women katiaing me, girls in school, and I couldn't say no, especially the ones who were very pretty. I couldn't say no. So I was just like, oh, I'm going to hide very well so that I'm not seen, or I'm just going to make sure that this Ijafika mele, of which in my second school I did. I made sure. But I think they just knew Chinyamaji, what I was doing, because the way they treated me, this second school was where, there was a time I was walking with my friend. I think I said this the other time. Now, a girl, my girlfriend, I would say, I would call her my best friend in high school, but we were doing things, okay? We were intimate and stuff. So this girl, she had another girl who was her best friend before I went to that. So when I was a newcomer in that school, she became my best friend and dropped her best friend. The best friend was a prefect, okay? So this best friend, one day when we were walking, they had a picture that they had taken together. And then this girl, this best friend of mine, decided to tear this picture so that she only remains with her side. And then she tore this other girl's side and akai ginjo. Ninja. And then when we were walking to the hostel, our hostel were like, we had up school and down school. So hostels were down school. So when we were walking to down school, she was dropping those pieces as we go on the road. Kumbe, this other girl whose pictures were being dropped in pieces was following us, crying as she was connecting those pictures. The next thing, I wasn't doing it. I had nothing to do with that. I did not even suggest for this girl to tear that picture. I had nothing to do with it. The next day, I'm being called to the deputy's office that, you know, they even ingizad uchawi ndani. I don't know, kurarua picha za mtu ni uchawi or something. So they started saying, I am the one who did it. And you know, this girl that I was with, her parents were very rich. I think her parents were the richest in that school. So like they used to pay school fees on time. Her parents were, I think they had a special relationship with the teachers. So now it was me. Everything was put to me. Like I am the one who tore the picture. I am the one who was, you know, walking around putting those pictures. The girl who did it was not even confronted, not even once. And even her, she did not even come out to say that by the way, it was me that did it. I am the one who was told I did it. I was actually suspended, not expelled. I was suspended. I was told to come back with my mom and my dad. My dad did not come back. My mom came. When I was with my mom in the staff room, now in front of the disciplinary committee, the other girl, who is my best friend now, her parents were also called. Do you know what they told the parents of that girl? The girl who tore the pictures, they told her parents that now they were telling my parents, they were talking to us, our parents, all of them, that you know, your daughter, they're telling my mom, your daughter is spoiling this girl. You know, imagine, they're telling my mom that your daughter is spoiling this girl, your daughter is a bully in this school. I was just like, oh my God, I took it. Like at this point, I was tired of you know, even having to defend myself. Nobody was even listening. Nobody wanted to hear my side of the story. So I was just tired. I would just let them say whatever they want to say. And then I go back to class and cry and then do whatever I have to do. Now, after that particular incident, now in class, there was this sister called Sister Rebecca. Oh my God. We were now in class and this girl who was my best friend, we used to sit with her. I used to sit next to her. So I was removed from sitting next to her. I was taken back at the back of the class. Our class used to be like this rectangle. So there was like space at the front. There's a blackboard and then space and then pupils and then space and then my bags. Okay. So I was like, after the space, like there was blackboard space, students space, and then Vivian. And then my friends, I had two friends, Naomi and now this girlfriend of mine. They would come to sit with me. So one day, Sister Rebecca found them seated with me at the back. She shouted. She stood at the door. I did not know what was going on. Those things were happening. I was just looking at them and I was just like, when I'm not part of this school. See, my father is paying fee at this school. She came and said, hey, yo, I don't want you to ever sit back there with that girl again unless you want to leave south and then I take you to north, another stream. If I ever find you sitting next to her again, you will leave this stream, you will go to the next stream. And then they left, they took their lockers, they moved. I was left back there. But then at this point, I was just like, ni sawa, like, it's okay. At the end of the day, we will do this exam and I'm going to university. Like, that is what I knew at the back of my mind, that I'm going to get out of this place and go where I want to go, no matter what you guys do. That one did not break me that much, okay? And then now, another issue. These issues were just together. This was a span of, because I was in this school Form 3 and Form 4. And in Form 3, not much happened. Form 4, all these things are happening to me in Form 4. Nakuja naambiwa, teachers were discussing me in staff room and all of them were saying that I think I know everything. All the teachers were saying that I should be taken home so that I come back to do KCSE if I think I know everything. And right now, those teachers are talking. And imagine when we're in class, oh my God, I enjoy their class. To a point, they're asking questions and everybody's asleep. Mimi niko. And I never used to sleep in class. I would not go for dawn. That one I know I would dodge dawns. But sleeping in class, even period during the day, even at afternoon when everybody's sleeping, I never used to sleep. I would always be that student who, even Adi Mwalimu anasema, somebody else. Always, like I would always make sure that I'm present in their classes because for real, I enjoyed their classes. And it broke my heart. That thing broke my heart because the teachers I loved. Akina Mr. Mbwaya, like, Mr. Mboya was my English teacher, and we used to discuss with him like the river between Damu Nyeusi. We would discuss the books so much, and me hearing that even him, teachers that I respected so much, teachers that I loved, they just sat down and decided that I'm the villain. That maybe I used to cry every day. My eyes were like always, because it was so much for me. Like, and then because of what was going on, it seemed like all teachers hated me. So now there's one teacher called Okelo. Mr. Okelo was our CRE teacher. That's why I don't like religious people. Like, they're pretenders so much. Mr. Okelo knew that teachers walikuwa wananichukia, that teachers hated me. He would sit with them. He knew how they were talking about me. So he took that as an advantage. He would call me talking to me, trying to cancel me or whatever. But the whole time he's just touching me. Oh. And me, I don't like being touched. And the only thing I remember about him touching me is the sweat. He had sweat. Sweat yake ilikuwa inanuka vibaya. So that is the only thing I remember about it. And I could not tell anyone at this particular point. But the ancestors, it did not even, like, haikumaliza, I think, a month before Mr. Okelo was, like, removed out of that school, because he wasn't just doing that to me. He did that to another girl whose mother was a lawyer. Like, that was the end of him. In that school, he was removed because he was literally assaulting kids. So after all those things were happening before, as we were preparing to do our KCSE. Okay, so third term came, and I remember there was a time tulikuwa tumesimama nje, kulikuwa kunanyesha. It was raining. Literally, it was raining so much, and we had up school, like I told you, and down school. So every time in the evening, we would leave up school saa 4 usiku tukienda kulala. So during this transition, it was raining, and the bell had already rang. And the students were standing at the gate, being rained on, but the watchman was not opening the gate. Why? Because others have not yet joined. So instead of just opening the gate, like, he was just being a dick. Okay. So he was not opening the gate. It is raining, and students are standing there. Do you know what I said? Because me, I was pissed off. I was among the people who were the first at the gate. I just told my friend who I was standing with. I did not even tell people. I just told my friend that, this is the reason. It had found when Kisumu girls had raped their watchman. It was news that was going around that Kisumu girls, I don't know, raped their watchman or did something, So I said that this is probably the reason why Kisumu girls did what they did to their watchman. Oh my God, people had it. The walls have ears. Then next, I just go to sleep. One thing about high school is that some things will be cooking behind you and you have no idea. So I just said my thing. I've just left. We are going as usual. Kesho. Najongeshwa. You were inciting girls yesterday to rape the watchman. We've been told you were inciting girls yesterday to rape the... Adi, sometimes they call you about certain things, Adi, you start laughing because, girl, like... Can I even do that, So this, I thought it wasn't going to go far. This thing got me expelled. Like, literally, not expelled again, suspended. And imagine this is third term we are doing our mock. CRE was the last paper. After that CRE paper, I was given a suspension letter. Me and my friend, we used to keep money together. In high school, like, we used to keep money together with my girlfriend, okay? She's the one who had money in her box. I did not have it, okay? So, when I finished my CRE paper, remember, I'm up school, I'm not down school. My box, my everything is in down school. By the time I was finishing the CRE paper, I was told the deputy is calling you. I was served a suspension letter, and my things were already brought up school. Outside the gates. Leave. Literally, I did not have fare. I did not have transport to go home. They refused. I talked to my friend to give me money to go home. I did not over what? They gave me the letter. I thought the letter was going to say I tried to rape the watchman or something. Getting home, the letter was saying bullying, that I'm being suspended because of bullying. But then even the way I got home, I left the school crying. I was just a crybaby. Like, I would just cry through this shit. I went to stage. Now it was upon the mercy of people. Because now that is the only way I was going to get home. There's no way I'm going to get money. I don't have any money. So I just carried my things to the stage. And I sat there crying again, And people were just asking me, oh, what has happened? What has happened? I tell them, I've been just out of school. I don't have any means to get home. And then they would just leave, And then there's this woman who came. She was pregnant at the time. She was driving. So she saw me. She was Luo as well. She saw me. She came. She asked me. I told her everything. She was so touched. She carried me with my things all the way up to our gate home. And then she left me her number. She told me to keep in touch. But I was so messed up. Like I wouldn't even know. I wish I would know her right now because I don't even remember her face. I was going through so much that I did not even remember anything about her. But I remember that she really helped me. So I got home. I showed my father the letter. Bullying. I've been bullied my whole life. So my father sees the bullying letter and is just like, he knows I'm not a bully. He did not even say anything. He just said, okay, we are going back to Nini tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going back. And then he went back. And these people, they used to fear parents so much. When they saw my dad, it wasn't even an issue anymore. Like these people were just frustrating my life. I got back. By the time I was getting back, because I was suspended for 2 weeks, by the time I was getting back, it was exam. But then in the 2 weeks that I was, oh my God, I was studying. I was studying. Like every time I would be taken home, I would go home and study. So that by the time I'm coming back, I'm even ahead of them in the syllabus because the teachers, they move so slowly. So I would, most of this, and that is the reason why they were saying, I think I know everything, because I used to be ahead of the teacher. Before the teacher comes with chemistry, a topic like, let's say, hydrogen or whatever, I already studied that particular topic yote nikamaliza. So mwalimu akikuja, and it was so easy for me. Mwalimu akikuja, mimi tu ni kujikumbusha sasa. And by the time they're done, I actually even know now more than I already knew when I was studying alone. So that was just a thing. That was just my thing. I just wanted to be ahead of the teachers always. I went back to school after like that suspension again. I was suspended so many times. I went back. I sat, even when I was doing my KCSE, I was just like an outsider in that school. Oh God, I was like, you are in school and people, assembly, when they're talking to people, they're using you as an example. Don't be like so-and-so, what they think they will pass, they will become nobody in society. That is how they used to talk about me, even to kids during parade. And sometimes it messes with you because even sometimes I started doubting myself that, will I fail like these people are saying? But then when we did our cases, it was so easy. I was just like, sawa, nimeifanya, and I think I'm going to ace it. Before KCSE, we were to choose which university you want to go to. Like that process is in Kenya, right? I chose University of Nairobi because my brother was already there. So I said, I want to go to University of Nairobi. But then because the school was so small, the teachers got mad that I chose University of Nairobi. They were saying, University of Nairobi is very competitive. You cannot get in. Choose something that you can manage. I told them, do you know me? Like, I did not say it, but I just said, I'm choosing University of Nairobi. My brother is already there. He is my blood, and he's there. If it is competitive, I'm competitive. So then I chose the University of Nairobi, and I got called to University of Nairobi. And when I cleared KCSE, I used to be most of the time I used to be number 2-1. There was this girl who was such a competition. So I said, this KCSE, I just want to be number 1 or number 2. I don't mind. If this girl defeats me, ni sawa. Come results. I was number 1, and I was the only A. I was shocked. I was the only A. Even the girl that used to beat me a lot was uko at B. So I was just like, nimemalizana na hiyo story. Cool, done with you guys. Me, I'm moving forward with my life. So if you want to talk shit about me, if you still want to, say all this nonsensical stuff about me, it's okay. And that was where I realized that my journey through school, because I've always been very curious. I wouldn't call myself smart. I would call myself curious. I want to know things. And when I want to know things, I'm not scared of the process that it takes for me to get to know that particular thing. That is the only difference between me. People are not stupid. People are just scared to find things out. I'm not afraid to meet new information. I'm not afraid to debunk my previous mentalities. I'm always ready to reorient. I'm always ready to change my mind. I'm always ready to repent when I'm wrong. So that is the reason why I think it makes me be able to gather a lot of information. And one thing I started doing this when I was young. Like me, I've always been like this. People come into my page and they think telling me I talk too much is going to affect me. I've been talking too much my whole life. I've been being told, keep quiet, you're talking too loud my whole life, to a point where it is who I am now, and I've already accepted who I am. But one thing I realized going through the entire process of school, even primary school, wasn't that Africans, the way African teachers are wired, they are wired to hate students who are knowledgeable. They are wired to hate students who, because they look at students as competition. You are a teacher. Why are you competing with a student, Most of the time they look at students as competition rather than teaching this particular student. If a student asks you a certain question, maybe it's difficult for you to answer. It's always good to have there's many avenues that teachers and students. I loved teachers. I loved my teachers, literally. I respected them so much. I was shocked they thought I did not. I was shocked they thought that I was looking down on teachers or something like that. I never did. I was so happy with the process of learning, that being in a class. And you can ask, my classmates know, I liked school. I liked knowing, I liked the discussions, I liked, just showing up to even doing homework. I liked all that. But then I did not know, teachers do not like students like us. Oh my God. And university is different. Universities, professors don't care. My God, professors are the best. But in high school and a little bit of primary school, but primary school I wasn't traumatized that much. High school, it made my whole process of high school made me realize that African teachers are being wired to hate students who are promising, students who are showing potential. Because I saw it. They hated me so much. And the only mistake that I did was to perform when they were, affirming that I will not. I'm telling you, the first school, you remember I was in St. Teresa's and then I went to St. Clair's. St. Teresa's and St. Clair's were like friends because they are both Catholic schools run by sisters, okay? So they would do mocks together, and these joint mocks were done like Vihiga. In Vihiga, we had schools like St. Joseph's or whatever. We would do mocks together, joint. And when I was in Form 4, we did it, okay? And imagine, we did a mock with my previous school when I was in this new school with 8 other schools, and I was the top of all of them. And my first school, Walinifkuza, you remember? Walinifkuza. And so it was where we went to release the results. My ancestors were wanapanga vitu for real. We went back to that school to release results, and the teacher started fighting again. I said, we were our foundation. Without St. Teresa's, she wouldn't have. So I just listened to these things, and most of the time I was just tongue-tied. I would just be tongue-tied. I would just be like, I have nothing to say. Because now they're arguing, but when she was here, because when I was in St. Teresa's, I would be top 10, but I wasn't top 5. In St. Teresa's, they were top cream de la cream. I wasn't even among them. And then when I went to St. Clair's, now we compete with all the students, and I was the top of the entire, all the 8 schools. I remember my French teacher, I was so proud of me, Mr. Ope. He loved me so much. So when the results were being announced, because he was so hurt that I was expelled. He did not want me to be expelled from that school at all. When the results were announced, I remember him coming with money. He stood from where he was. When I was called number 1, he came with money, his own money. And he gave it to me and he told me, you are a very good girl. Let nobody ever tell you otherwise. It was a circus for me in high school. High school was a whole circus. The things about me that were broken in high school has been my process of building ever since I left high school. Because I remember when I got now to university, first of all, when I was in high school, I was so queer that I thought in university, I was going to be even more. But then when I got to university, I never even dated, from first year, second year, third year. I wasn't even in a serious relationship. I never had a woman I was with, whatever. So throughout university, because I was afraid, because also I saw how University of Nairobi was very patriarchal when I was there. Like the men were the ones to say, they were the leaders and blah. And I would see the way they would react to queer people. You know, they would belittle you even worse than the teachers would. So I just kept my sexuality to myself throughout university. And during this point, research, Mimi, the moment society tells me it's wrong, and I feel an intrinsic desire that my heart wants it, I want it, and society is saying it's wrong, then that is where I remove myself from society and actually go and look into what different people are saying about it. What is nature saying about it? Is this thing in nature? Is it a natural thing? What happened? Why did they start to say that it is wrong? You know, so Mimi finding out such kind of questions. And I found answers. I swear to God, I have been looking for answers, especially when it comes to homosexuality. I can sit you down and I will tell you why it's not wrong from a scientific point of view, and even using the Bible in itself. Because the Bible is so much misinterpreted. They misinterpret these things so much. It's a topic that I cannot get into now. But that is what helped me. Books. Oh my God, books have always been like my safe haven. Research has always been that part in the back of my mind that I go back to when the outside is not making sense. And trust me, when I research it and realize my truth for myself, you cannot take me out of that. It is impossible to take me out of that truth. And also another thing that helped me to, build back my broken pieces of self was just me being able to be independent, like me being able to provide for myself, me being able to not beg people for me to survive, me being able to, because when they told me that I was going to be a useless person in society, somehow these things, however much strong you are, they linger. They make you scared a little bit that, how can you speak such kind of thing in my life? And what if it comes true? So me not wanting those kind of things to come true was me actually being friends with myself and just always making sure that I'm there for myself. Always making sure that I'm there for myself and I do things that allow me to have space on this planet. Because on this planet, one thing that I've realized is that space is important. And as long as you can have your own space, nobody can tell you shit. Because even the government, we are the one paying the taxes. Without our taxes, they cannot be anything. And what is a tax? Space, So as long as I have my own space, I'm paying for my own bills, I can, fend for myself. It's almost like I can swim. Oh my God, you cannot tell me anything. I'm going to do everything that I want to do. And I thank God that I went through that because it even opened my mind to research things and actually know truth. Me researching about homosexuality is the reason why I know so much about history. Because it took me, that rabbit hole, it took me around. And I like the journey. Like it took me into so many avenues, wanting to know who are my ancestors. And even researching physically. I am the person who I went back to my mom's home. I have interacted with my mom's siblings, now they're kids, just to see. And I've realized that in my family, my God, people like me are there. Queer people are there. Like queer people, you look at them and you know that there's a certain way they are built, okay? And even looking into my family, there are people like me inside my family. Yes, they are fighting themselves. And I can see the war because I had that war with myself. But I can actually see people built a certain way, the way I am built. And you cannot, nobody can come and tell me anything that is contrary to what I've already seen and believed for myself. I also believe that God can never punish me for loving a fellow human being. We came here to love and experience intimacy with life and to just see nature and to vibe with it. That's what I'm doing. Everything is nature. Me, I'm just vibing. And I like what I like, okay? Yeah, so that is what helped me to actually just being strong for myself and knowing that nobody's coming to save me. I have to save myself. And part of me saving myself is me making sure that I'm not mentally conflicted with myself. I can be conflicted with you. I'm not scared of mental conflicts with other people. The mental conflict that I'm scared of is the one I have with myself. So always knowing that inside of me, I have my own kiyama. I have my own council of elders inside of me. And as long as we are communicating and we are all in agreement and we are all in unison, anybody from outside we look at you and we adjust our proximity. Exactly. That's how I live. And I don't want to scratch people's, I don't want to rub shoulders with people who are not aligned with me. Just like I don't want them to rub shoulders with me. When I was born in Mathare. I was born at 1 a.m. to a mother who was a tailor. By 1, like saa saba usiku. By 6 in the morning, my mom was already in a sewing machine. Ameniweka kwa lap. Then anashona na babangu anaenda kuuza. And that continued for a while until I joined into yeye kushona na mimi, bradhangu, tunaenda kuuza. We used to sell clothes. You see the way you meet kids in town selling patco. As we were 50 mwisho 40, like clothes were that much. They were so cheap. So we used to sell clothes through like Huruma, because we were in Mathare, Huruma, Dandora. We used to go and we used to sell, literally. It was a business that was, a hand to mouth, but it was working. That is how I said, I think fashion to me was something I was born into. Like, I think the way my family is set up was just to influence me to become a fashion designer. Because when I was young, maybe I used to sit next to my mother as she made her, and it was the most beautiful thing ever. Just watching her cut them and make clothes. I used to love that so much that I would take her pieces that she's left. We would quarrel with my mom over pieces. I wasn't done with that yet, Sikuwa nimemaliza na hiyo. I would take her pieces and make clothes for myself. Sometimes the clothes would be amazing that I would be like, oh, and everybody would be looking at me, and then sometimes it would be nauma nje kabisa. Sometimes I would uma nje, I would be laughed at. But then that was the journey. Like, I did not know I wanted to do fashion design. Because also, like, my dad is this person who is books, so I was smart as well. So I was like, smart people will become doctors, smart people will become lawyers and blah. So I was just like, okay, I'll do fashion for fun, but then I'll be a smart person doing doctor shit. So as I grew up, I fashion was there with me because my mom was there. And I always knew I wanted to learn how to sew. But I did not want to learn it with my mom's machine. Like, ya kukanyaga hivi. I felt like it is taking forever. So I'd never learned how to sew with her machine, but I would watch her do her things. So in high school, when I cleared, I chose to go study microbiology and biotechnology because my dad told me, with an A, you want to go study what? Fashion design? What the hell is that? Like, my dad didn't know how serious I was about fashion, and I did not want him to know I'm serious. So I would just nasema tu kidogo, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just lying. Even in high school, I remember I made clothes for like beauty pageants in my school. So I always loved fashion. And then after now graduation was where, even when I was in campus, I was in, microbiology. I was doing microbiology and biotechnology. School of scientists and medics and chemists and physicians or physicists. I was so out of place. People would look at, because Mimi, the way I dress, I will show up. I love dressing. That's why I love being alive, because I love to dress up. So when I was in Chiromo, people would ask me, what are you doing in Chiromo? You look like main campus, like I look like an artist, like I look like School of Art. But then I'm in School of Science. So people would ask me, what are you doing? Like, it has always followed me. Like, you don't look like you're from Chiromo. People would tell me, you don't look like you're from Chiromo. You look like you're studying art or whatever. And when I would walk in Ngara or when I would go to Gikomba, people would call me Msani. So the name was always following me, but I'm a scientist, But people are already calling me Msani, and I've not even started practicing. After university, I just told my dad, no, I don't want to do this. And when I remember being on a call with him, because I did not tell him face to face, my dad Mkali. So I just told him, hey, Mimi, after he was looking for an attachment to me at Kemri, a job to me at Kemri, I told him I don't want it. I want to do fashion. And saizi sijalan no, actually nilikuwa nimeshalan kidogo kushona. And then my dad was like, you want to leave medicine, you want to leave practicing science, because microbiology and, laboratory, whatever. You want to leave that to go into the Juakali industry. To him, it's Juakali. He called it Juakali. And when he said that, I just remembered, the Juakali that is along Jogo Road. That is what I remember. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, that's what I want to do. And then after a while, like I always say my ancestors, they know how to arrange my life so much. So after a while, after having that awkward conversation with him, and I knew he would never support me. I did not have a job. I did not have any money, any forms of money. So he wasn't going to support me because you've just left this for that. So figure it out by yourself. And literally my family left me to figure it out by myself. There were times I couldn't pay my own rent, and I had family and stuff, and people were asking me, is your brother not a doctor? How come you can pay? I was just like, I'm trying to figure this out by myself. And I'm so glad that actually they let me figure it out by myself because I'm so strong now. So after having that conversation with my dad, in order for me, I don't like taking so much time learning things. I knew fashion was in me. I wanted the quickest way possible to get to practice, okay? After university, there's this thing called Generation. It's a place where they teach people how to sew, but at a speed, ni kama watu wa jela. Na watu ni wengi. Like, people are many, like, it's a whole hall. And you have to get there by 3 a.m. in the morning. By 5, if you get there past 5, you have no machine. Like, people were getting there, like, it was like ni kazi, you ran. It was so hard. But it was the best way of training for me because within 1 week, the way people there were so competitive because it was so fast. The way wanafunza nasema watu wa jela because literally that's how they teach people in jail, like mbio. So I registered for that. I felt like it was the best place for me to learn how to sew. Me spendi vitu zenye bado you drag me. Sijui 1 week is when we are learning how to thread. Threading, you learn it within 3 minutes. And then you start learning how to, you need to do the straight lines. And then you start learning how to do this. It was like, because those people, they're the ones who live there and then they go into industries direct. And in industry, you don't need to design. You just need to patchwork. Like, you do this. Like, you just need to know how to, the basic sewing machine operation. So I went there. I was there, I think, for 3 weeks. And I was crawling. I used to wake up at 3. Because me sasa nilikuwa naishi mbali, wengine walikuwa naishi hapo karibu. So me, I used to wake up at 3 just to get there on time. Like usiku, time yenye, by the way, watu ni mahasla. Because during that time I was waking up and people were already on the road going to work. So me, I would go there to train. And sometimes I would miss machine. Most of the times I would miss machine. I would sit next to my friend and wait until she's done and then I do it. That is how I trained. After those 3 weeks, there was this registration, Project X. And then I said, I don't care whether sijui kushona. Me, I'm going to register for this. I'm going to compete for this thing. I trusted my design, my talent. I trusted that I know how to do these things. This that sijui kushona vizuri, but I will get to know on the way. And then this Project X thing, it was another marathon. Those people, we were to create our collection. You are not given time to create your collection. You have to figure out time, because all the time that we had, they were preoccupying it by master classes. Siju, I don't know what they're teaching you. So many things were being taught that you don't have time to sew. So me, I used to sew my collection at night. Usiku nashona. During the day, I do their things. Usiku nashona during mpaka, like we had 3 days to create a whole collection. Even the people we were competing with, some of them came to finish at Ole Sereni, because Ole Sereni was where the competition was happening. Me, I went to Ole Sereni with all my things done because I'm also quick, I'm also quick at doing things. I was just praying that I'm going to win this thing, even though I did not. God, I don't have to know, to have, 10-year experience to win. I don't believe in that. So I went there with all the confidence and I won. That is the Project X that I won. And they were taking you to Paris, And that's how I got into that. And then after that particular competition, after 2 months again, Pasaris was with another competition. Maybe these competitions were just helping me to perfect my design skills and my, stitching skills. So this other competition again, Pasaris put it up. I was lucky to be number 2, Yeah, I was lucky to be number 2. There was good money out of it. I ate that we got the money. And then I went to Paris. In Paris, they were taking us just to, expose us to the market. In Paris, we got to meet people from Louis Vuitton and Givenchy specifically. We had a masterclass with Louis Vuitton and Givenchy just to expose, our style to global market, and also to tell you how to advance and how to get market going. Just fashion in general, how it works from production all the way to delivery. So those are the things that they were teaching us, and also they were teaching us like the whole process, how they do it. It was amazing. Before I went to Paris, I was expecting a lot, I was expecting much, especially from how people talk about Europe and stuff. But then I got my own experience, and I wasn't so much impressed by the environment itself, but I was impressed by, the teachings that I got out of it. Because these people, they're making do with the little that they have. They're the ones with the little. Africans think we have the little. We have a lot. It is Europe that is making do with the little that they have. Africa has everything. So just seeing how they are making do with the little that they have, like that was very impressive for me. And also like, oh my God, when I got to Gucci, we went to all like the big brands. They loved my design so much that, my director is white. She's French, Italian. She was shocked because those people, they are snobs. She was saying that these people rarely talk to anybody because they think they're on top of the world. But then when I got there, they were even, hadi nikitembea hivi kama sijawaona, they tell the people I was with to tell me to come back so that just they can appreciate my design. Like, to me, Paris was, and when I was walking on the streets, everybody wanted, because I was wearing my stuff, everybody wanted to take a picture. Like, I felt like I was in the red carpet. I swear to God, when I was in Paris, I felt like I was in the red carpet. Like, it was so, I did not experience any racism. It was just, people were reacting to me and my design in a way that it made me feel so good and want to do even better than what I'm already doing. So I've not been in fashion for long. That's why even on my social media, I don't post much of my fashion work, because to me, fashion it's my baby. The way you protect your child from public until you are sure. I only work with specific clients, and that is how I want my brand to be. I want to choose my clients. I swear, I tell this to people, and people are like, oh, but how are you going to make money? Or everybody needs to, to have a hand at your brand. But that is not, Mimi, I'm not after what people have been doing. Clearly, even from the way I live my life, like, people should not stop expecting me to follow the norm. Me, I like it when even I am the one that chooses the clients that I want to work with. I want to work with certain types of people who understand sustainable fashion, because I'm also not moving into ready to, like, putting too much out there, production and unsustainable style that hurt the environment. No. Maybe my brand, I'm just pole with it because I want to do it in a way that is respectful to me, to my values, and also to my ancestral values, and also to the planet as a whole. So I'm still doing a lot of research, even with the materials that I want to use and stuff like that. But I like the way it is coming out. It's just been how long? I started sewing in March 2021, and we are now in 2023. And ni pole too, I will be one of the best fashion designers in the entire world. I'm going to say Africa. But for now, pole too, because fashion to me, it's a delicate thing. It is my best thing ever. It surpasses even history and research and blah. Like, fashion is like the last pillar in my life. And that's why pole too. I'm moving with it just slowly but surely. And as long as I can pay my bills, and as long as, I'm helping myself and I can sustain myself, sina haraka ya accumulate billions in my account. It will come when it will come. And so far, I'm happy. I create. Sometimes I create and I just look at it and I'm just like, I start jumping. Because I love the process of creation in itself. I'm doing fashion is something I would do even if I wasn't being paid for it. That's how much I love it. And when you start to follow your gift, you will not worry about money. You will not worry about, how am I going to survive? Your gift will feed you. People think they need money to become who they are, but you need who you are to become money. It is the opposite. Like, once you tap into who you are, pesa inakuja. Ona, pesa ni kama temple run. If you play temple run, it's on the way. It is just banking on you to be you. Always be yourself and move towards the things that make your soul feel alive. Gravitate towards the things that make your soul feel alive, even if society is against these things. And one thing as women, African women specifically, let's stop being to ourselves what society is to us. Be so kind and so smooth and so loving to yourself unapologetically than you know allowing the world to push you down. Because one thing about Africans is that we are like a punching bag to so many people. It doesn't matter whether it's a black man, whether it's Europeans, Asian, or whatever. It is usually the black woman that is at the bottom of the barrel of things. But then that needs to change, and it doesn't need to change by us telling people to now respect us, respect us. It needs to change by us starting to respect one another and to respect yourself, first of all, before you even stretch that respect outside. Because one thing I believe is that people will always be to other people what they are to themselves. If somebody is capable of lying to themselves, expect them to lie to you. If somebody is capable of disrespecting themselves, expect them to disrespect you. So as a black woman, always be the best to yourself, because yourself is all you have for the rest of your life. That is the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So always make sure that this person's desires, you, okay? Your body's desires, your body's ambitions, your body's dreams are the things that you stand by without putting your ear out to think or to hear what the society is saying about this particular thing. Us being compassionate towards ourselves is the main important thing that we need to do as black women, so that that compassion stretches to the whole world. Stop putting yourself into spaces that make you hate yourself. Put yourself in spaces that will make you feel happy about yourself, will make you love yourself. And even if they make you question yourself, but it's not in a way that you want to take out a dagger and, put it through yourself. So I always advocate for love of self, because I know once somebody is capable of loving themselves, they're capable of loving everybody that deserves of love. So loving ourselves as individuals, that is the main spiritual things that we can do to help ourselves as women, as black women.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless.
Oh man, I think Sweetie is just such good energy, and her light shines so bright. The authenticity, the connection she has with her roots and her lineage and who she is, and the clarity around that is just something, I feel like we are very blessed to experience her in our time. And man, listening to this part of her story and just thinking about boarding schools in Kenya, oh my goodness, they really need to be held accountable for the pain and trauma that they just inflict on children, and every other week there's a news piece that just makes you wonder what exactly is happening in these boarding schools and why is it being allowed to happen. And even in Swiri's story, and I know quite a few people can identify with this, I didn't go to boarding school, and I always, at a point, I used to feel left out, especially when I joined IB. Most of the people I was in school with had gone to boarding school, and they'd be sharing all of these stories that I didn't even understand, because I was just like, what is that about? Because I've never been in boarding school. But I remember my mom went to boarding school in high school, and I distinctly remember her saying, none of my children are ever going to go to boarding school. And it was a very stern, she had a very matter-of-fact, stern tone when she said this. And that was strange for my mom. She didn't even unpack it. So sometimes it makes me wonder, what did she experience in boarding school? Back in the day when there were not many outlets for kids to cry for help or cry to be heard. We see all of these stories on boarding schools where the kids burn their dormitories, and the reaction of the government. This is in Kenya. I don't know if it happens in other countries, but the reaction of the government is always to clamp down and be stern and be like, we're going to arrest the kids. And when you think about it, that's a cry for help. Something is going wrong. Anyway, I find this really hectic because in therapy, I'm finding most of my issues are due to events in my childhood into teenhood. These are really formative years. So we need to reevaluate boarding schools, man. Anyway, I just really loved having Sweetie back, and in the show notes, there's links to her social media platforms in case you do not know of her and this is the first time you're hearing of her. She does a lot of content on African history. She's really dedicated to the African awakening, which I love. So yeah, go and connect with her. And I really hope her story sparked in you a desire to journey back to your essential self, who you really are or were before the world tried to fit you into a mold. And that's what we're going to be talking about at our group therapy session, 29th of April, which is this Saturday, 9:30 a.m., Kanga Studio, facilitated by Faith, who also happens to be my therapist. And we only have 5 tickets left, so head over to legallycluelessafrica.com to grab your ticket. It would be very dope to meet you in person, and not just actually for fun times, like more healing. Hey, look at us. Anyway. If you are in Kenya, remember you can catch this podcast on Trace FM every Monday and Wednesday at 1 p.m. and 11 p.m., Fridays at 1 p.m. Just head over to traceradio.co.ke. You can stream Trace there. If you want to share your story on this podcast, fill out the storyteller form. It's in the show notes and we will get back to you. I am also very excited about next week's episode because we're going to be jumping into May. The episode actually goes out on the first day of May. And May is Mental Awareness Month. And so to kick us off, we are going to have such a powerful storyteller in next week's episode. Her name is Noella, and she talks about her life with a specific mental illness. So she's going to be in next week's episode. I'm sending you so much love as I leave you with what you can expect next week.
You know, when you're in a psych ward, you kind of have to learn how to survive, and you talk with other patients. So it was like you have to show like there's some sort of improvement. And then when I was released, I was like, okay, so here's your medication. Make sure you take this XYZ times. So I leave hospital. And then because nobody told me my diagnosis and what it meant, when I took the medication, it was too strong for me. I remember like I would barely walk a few steps when I took one of the medication, and like I was very groggy. I was like, there's something here that's not adding up.
That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.